Okay, so probability part 2. So I've taken a sort of stereotypical GCSE question. So a gardener takes 10 hyacinth bulbs. 4 of the bulbs will produce blue flowers and the rest will produce red. What's the probability that the 2 bulbs he plants will produce flowers of the same colour? Now you have to excuse me because I don't even know what hyacinth looks like. So I'm not even sure if they produce blue or red flowers, but let's just go with it anyway. So he takes 10 bulbs. Now we know that 4 will produce blue flowers. So the probability of blue, okay, is 4 of the 10. So the probability of red will be the remaining 6. So this will be 6 of the 10. So we can put that on the first part of our tree diagram. So red would be 6 over 10 and blue would be 4 over 10. Now, obviously he's not going to plant them, uproot them and then put them back. So he's not replacing them. So let's assume that first of all the first bulb he takes will produce a red flower. So we know that's 6 out of 10. He now plants that bulb. The probability now that he chooses another red, well, there's going to be 1 less red. So this will be 5, and there'll be 1 less bulb. So this will be 9. Now, if he's chosen a red, he's still got the original 4 blues. Okay, so this will also be 4 over 9. Okay, and we can check this. All probabilities must add up to 1. So 5 over 9 plus 4 over 9, 9 over 9. So we know that's 1. Now let's say he doesn't plant a red the first time. He plants a blue the first time. So the probability now of him pulling a blue, there's 1 less blue. So there's only 3, and there's 1 less bulb. So this will be 9. Now if he was to choose a blue and then a red, well, the reds are still there. So there would still be the 6 reds, but of course only 9 bulbs. So again we can check 3 over 9 plus 6 over 9, 9 over 9 equals 1. So now we've got our tree diagram marked up and labelled. We can now answer the question. So the probability that 2 bulbs he plants will produce flowers of the same colour. Now, as I said in probability 1, for him to get 2 bulbs the same colour or flowers the same colour, that will be a red and then a red, or a blue and then a blue. So now we know what we need to do. So a red and a red would be 6 over 10. Remember the and or rule, so and means multiply. 5 over 9. Or, so we're going to add product. Blue would be 4 over 10 multiplied by 3 over 9. Okay, so always multiply out first. So 6 5s are 30, and 10 times 9 is 90, plus 4 3s 12 over 9 10s and 90. So we now just add the two together. Remember, we only add the numerators. So 30 plus 12 is 42 over 90. And that will be the probability. Okay, now in the exam you need to show all of this. Okay, quite often they will also put in a tree diagram for you to complete. You can cancel this down if you want to. I know 6 will go into this, I know 6 will go into this, so I could cancel down. But examiners are usually quite happy with this. Okay. Also in the exam they might say the probability of 2 bulbs being planted is, and then they will tell you what the probability is, and they want you to work through this to prove that their answer is correct. Okay, so this is not replacing. Remember, if you're not replacing, then the denominator will fall by 1 each time. Okay, so I think it's quite simple. It's just practice like everything else, but I'm sure you'll get it in time. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video now and I'm going to show you a relative frequency, a relative probability question. Okay, so relative probability. So a man has a box of coloured beads, and the probability of him drawing each colour and replacing the beads at random is recorded in the table below. So what they've done is they've put down the probability for you. Okay, so the probability of red would be 0.3, probability of blue 0.4, and then we have 2 unknowns. So if the man drew 50 beads and replaced the beads each time, how many times would you expect yellow beads to have been drawn? Well, the first thing we need to do is to find out these unknown values. Now the one thing that we do know is all probabilities add up to 1. So this plus this plus this plus this must equal 1. So 2p plus p would be 3p plus 0.4 plus 0.3, and we know that that will equal 1. So I can, now we've just got a simple algebra equation. So 3p plus, now 0.4 plus 0.3 is 0.7, and that equals 1. So 3p will equal 1 minus 0.7, because 0.7 has come over, so the sign changes. So 3p will equal 0.3. So obviously p must equal 0.1. And I urge you to do this and notate in this way so examiners can see exactly what you're doing. So now I know that p is 0.1. So here the probability of green is 0.1. Now if p is 0.1, 2p must be 0.2. So now we can see all the probabilities add up to 1, and we know the probability of each colour. Now if they draw the beads 50 times, Now the probability of it coming out yellow is 0.2. Now I know some of you might know, well, 0.2 is 20%, that's fine. We can say 20% of the beads would be yellow. I also know that 0.2 is 2/10, so that will be the same as 2/10. Okay, so whichever method suits you. Now I know 10% of 50 is 5, or 10% equals 5, so 20% must equal 10. Or 1/10 of 50 is 5, so 2/10 is 10. So I can say that I would expect 10 yellows. Okay? It really is that simple. They like to put a little bit of algebra in because they know that that might put you off. But once you know the probabilities, it's really that fraction of the number that they're talking about. It really doesn't get any more complicated than that. Okay, I've just invented this question, but they come up with things that are very, very similar. So again, as I said, it's just practice. So don't be afraid of probability. It's not that difficult. It's just a question of take your time. What do you know and what do you need to know, and then how do you go about finding it? Okay, so I hope that helps, and I'll move on.